Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
I will say, like, not only was I shocked that A Day to Remember fucking bombed today,
bro,
also the fact that people were just like, dude, this song is so cringe. I'm like, did we listen to the same song? Like,
why did it win?
Yeah, right.
Then why did it win?
It was one of the 2 winners on Patreon. So
you voted on it.
Well, I'm not the main.
I'm just being
not
funny.
the main public, but yeah, no, that was really shocking because a lot of people were like, "Nah, dude, I didn't really dig this one or whatever," and I'm like, "No, I had fun with it. Like, I love their old stuff. I love their new stuff. I think that they're still doing like great music. So this just tells me that I'll just listen to the new album on my own and enjoy it like I'm in middle school or high school, like back in the day. So, but yeah, it was very very shocking.
Yeah,
shocking, just like a couple of other things that have been happening recently that doesn't make any sense. So,
like what?
Well, Eric, So I saw your post, I think a little bit before I came home, and you were talking about some physical evidence that you had and you saw that you were just like, bro, like, what the hell? This doesn't make any sense. Like, because guys, to give you full perspective here is that, we've had some things that have happened in this house before for one reason or another, and it's never been anything.
Why is it always me though?
Well, I think that it's also like it is mostly you, but I have had like isolated things,
yeah, right?
Because you and I actually have had a paranormal experience, or what I can only assume was a paranormal experience, unless if one of the cats or the dog learned how to fucking cackle or whatever. No, we've had some interesting things that have been happening in the house recently, paranormal wise. So it's just, I don't know, like it's odd because I'm usually not susceptible to those things. Like I never really have been. It's more so I kind of just like pick up on vibes or I will hear things.
Sure.
So I've never been somebody that has seen anything and I don't want to be. Because I've had friends before where I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything. They're like, oh no, you will. It'll happen. It'll happen when you least expect it. And I'm like, oh, thanks, I appreciate it.
Great.
No. So kind of take us through what you had happen this week in your experiences, because it's very interesting. Just because it's not normally something that happens here at all.
Yeah. Well, so like we were kind of talking earlier, so I'll take you back, guys, before what happened the last 2 days, which was, I don't know, I can't remember which one, but I know it was like after the first a couple of coffee times that like I first started. Mm-hmm. So it was during the day. So no, I wasn't having apple juice or having a bunch of, my spicy air, maybe, but no, mostly
caffeine.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Right. Mostly caffeine. And the way I sit, some of the main speakers are to my right and they're like in my periphery. Mm-hmm. But I saw something and it was like weird because it kind of seemed almost not I don't want to say shadow like, but like shadow and almost like a person, but it was like up high, like nobody could have been back behind there. Mm-hmm. And when I looked, it was gone. Of course, like not okay, like whatever. Mm-hmm. So then like I guess maybe other weird shit has probably happened that I just kind of not really paid attention to, but
right.
Oh, this was the other thing I didn't tell you.
Oh,
so
shit.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard it. So guys, yesterday I was on Twitch. Something weird happened, but something weird happened the day before. I walk in and I'm going to try and show you guys. So how the microphone is like up in the air like this, right? It is like up. We can put our headphones like this. That's how we usually have them in the studio. Just so you know, it's not like angled down.
Yeah, it's usually whenever our headphones are put away, unless if they're laid down on a desk, they're usually on a mic arm.
Right.
That's where we've left them since the day we started Riker Road.
Yeah. Or on the counter on our sides in
Correct.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
So anyways, the days was going by and I kind of like the door was open and I was kind of like looking in and out of the studio. And then at one point in time I walked by and like I didn't like yell at him per se, but I was like, Thor, what the fuck, man? Mm-hmm. My headphones were on the ground, folded.
And plugged in.
Now, it wasn't even in front of it. If the microphone was here where it was like off to the side. Mm-hmm. Like somebody picked them up. And also I never heard like a thump. Mm-hmm. It was like somebody put them down on the ground. Mm-hmm. So I tell you that to tell you this. Then on Twitch last night, probably about 45 minutes in. Now, guys, I did have a little bit of apple juice. I was about 3 in. Nothing crazy, just vibing. The door is open, so if Chandler's still awake, I usually kind of jam out on music first. That way I'm not in the middle of a game if I need to do something with her. So I jam out on music, but I do have my headphones on. There is lights in the hallway, just like we have in all the rooms as far as like LED lights. So if something is going on like in the hallway, like the dog, or if Chandler gets up, you can kind of see the shadow difference in like how it moves. So all of a sudden, I swear, I almost feel like I heard something too that wasn't music. Now, they weren't like saying my name or anything, but it was almost kind of like, you're like, what?
Yeah, right. There's something here. I need to acknowledge it.
Yeah. I literally, you can ask some of the people on the stream. I took them, I'm like, what, Chandler? And I also saw shadow movement, like somebody was there. Well, she wasn't there. And the fact that I also thought, well, maybe it was Thor coming from, nope, I heard him get down off of the couch because he was asleep.
Yeah.
So he didn't just get down, you know what I mean? I went to check, so I, again, put my headphones how I did on live stream.
Yeah.
Opened the door to her bedroom. She was asleep, so it wasn't her. I come back. Guys, I had black, what looked like fingerprint almost. Now, it wasn't like fingerprints, but like almost like the smudge, like when you go to take, when I had doing my vessel cosplay. Guys, I haven't done that in weeks, and I cleaned these things, and we got a new desk.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, it sat down, maybe there was some for me to touch it. Nope. A brand new fucking desk. And I haven't done Vessel in weeks. These are red headphones. It stood out immediately when I walked in. I'm like, why the fuck is there black paint? These were clean. I've worn them daily. Nope, it's not from like ash or anything, because two things, that looks way different than this darker black substance. And it rubbed rubbed right off. Like it's supposed to. This was like fresh. So I don't know, guys. And the fact that Thor twice in between everything was out in there barking like he was wanting to jump through the front window. I don't know if you heard, it was like 10:30 at night, because I was like, bro.
Because I was deep. Well, ironically, what I was doing last night was I was actually finishing up the visuals on my new scary story. Which, and it's funny too, because like, I mean, I find myself really only like getting creeped out whenever I'm doing the voiceover. So I don't know if it's like speaking or manifesting.
Probably.
So, but I mean, I've worked that studio downstairs to like pretty much like no matter what's going on besides like pounding or anything like that on the floors and stuff, I can pretty much record anything I need to, whether it's singing, vocals, or whatever. I mean, it's kind of that idea that if I'm doing something professional, I probably would use a still house to do that. But in the same hand, like for doing some narrations and things like that, I mean, the effects do what they need to do. But yeah, like I was not in a bad place last night as far as, like being like, oh, I'm paranoid or this or that. Like I was doing my normal thing. And I remember hearing that and I was like, oh, there must be somebody walking outside. Oh, there must be like, cause I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
So
nothing.
That's interesting that all that was happening and he was going nuts.
Yeah. Because he was looking out like that front window thing. Cause I was like, okay, like is somebody here? Or I'm like, did somebody pull in? Not one brake light, like somebody pulled in their driveway, not anybody walking by, not even like, there wasn't any like, street lights, but like house lights on. It was like dark, fucking dark outside. Right. There was nothing there. He couldn't, there was no animals, you know what I mean? Like nothing. I'm like, that's when I was like, bro, shut up. Yeah. Like it is 10:30 at night. You're going to wake up Chandler or keep her awake, or you're trying to record. Like, it's like, bro, because we all know my dog, like it's not the fact that he barks, he doesn't stop. So, but he was like aggressive with it. And that's when I was like, dude, calm the fuck down. What is your problem? Well, yeah. Then he did it again for a second. That's when I was like, nah, bro, you can't be trusted. Get in here. And we all had a big laugh about that. Oh, he can't be trusted. Ha, ha, ha. Then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, what the fuck was he barking at? Yeah, because I think that it's also like what I try to do is that, I mean, because we've talked about it before in one of our earlier episodes, because we talked about whether or not we're skeptics, about like, different stuff that happens, is that you and I
have had some very predominant things in our lives that have happened where it's like, no, there is something paranormal happening on this earth. Like there is something that we don't understand, whether or not you want to associate it with, an actual deity or if it's just energy or whatever. Like, I think that it's like, the people that believe in that in us too, where it's like, no, we can agree something is happening,
Right.
But in the same hand is that what I try to do is that I'm very practical whenever something happens, because I mean, even the one that freaks me out the most was when we were actually having kitchen talk, and it was like we were not talking about paranormal stuff. We were like, because that's kind of like that mentality that like, well, if it's on your mind,
something
like,
happens.
If somebody comes to the house for the first time and like you tell them a story about, oh yeah, that room is where this horrible act of violence happened or whatever, and like they're gonna see something,
right?
Like they will. Like Aunt Heidi has told me that before, where she was like, no, like my house is active, but when I don't tell people anything, they don't see or hear anything.
Correct.
He's like, the second that I bring something up, it's like, no, I saw him. He was crawling on the ceiling. It's like, okay, well, number one, no, that's not what my ghost does. So like, but no, we were having a normal content, creating kind of conversation in the kitchen, and I'm not trying to be funny. Like I'm trying to replicate exactly what we heard.
Yeah.
Because it was before we started keeping the basement door shut. So like, I mean, like sound can travel, like, like if something is downstairs, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, but it was, it was like this really, like, it almost sounded like the Joker.
And I thought you had like a TV. I thought you had like maybe like your TV on or something downstairs, or like, something popped up on like, YouTube if you had it on. No, because I do remember hearing that and I'm like, well, who the fuck?
Like,
why did he?
Who's here?
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah,
his TV wasn't that loud a second ago. Like I understand commercials get louder to grab your attention and keep you awake and stuff. Like that's an actual tactic, but that was a drastic difference in sound. And like you said, it wasn't like TV. It was like, this is coming from inside the house, not to sound, but like for real.
Yeah.
Like that was weird.
Well, because especially too was that because there's like, you and I have had moments where, like we have heard something or whatever, and then like, oh, we now know what this was. But it's really interesting how the house changes when that happens, because it's almost like you and I lock eyes of like, okay, no, it's time to fight.
Yeah.
Like it's like, because to me, it's one of those that like, yeah, paranormal stuff is freaky, like it happens, but I'm more terrified of somebody breaking into my house and either wanting to steal something that we have worked very hard to be able to get,
or kill me,
or try to hurt us or kill us. And it's so like that was a night that I remember. I remember going downstairs and I think I grabbed a knife or something.
You did.
And it was just that idea of like, I don't even know how to properly use one, but I'm like, but I would much rather have something in my hands if something is going to happen. And I remember because it was not only the fact that we heard it, but Thor perked up and he ran downstairs.
He did. And that was
what was like, okay, clearly something is happening.
I think that was the biggest thing that got me, because I've said things like to you before where, you'll say something about like, oh, the noise, or like something, and I'll be like, well, were the cats freaking out? Was Thor barking? And you're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, then I would say you're probably okay.
Right.
I'm not saying that they can't sneak around and do other things, but it's the fact of, yes, Thor not only was doing it last night, but he did it that night as well. And I do remember, yes, you did grab a knife, because I forget what it was, like the mallet, like the tenderizer mallet or something, because I remember you were going to go in the garage and I was going to go in the laundry room, or vice versa. Like we were going to both go to the
yeah. Well, because I mean, honestly, it's that was a moment that like, because I don't know if you've had this happen before, or anybody that's watching this has had this happen, where like it's kind of like that moment of like this, like I'm about to see something.
Yeah.
I'm about to see something I've never seen before, whether or not as a person I don't know, or, an entity or something. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, well, clearly there was a noise. Now there's nothing here. So there are three options of where somebody or something could be. Now, at the time, the studio that I built downstairs was not there. There's no way anything would be able to get in there comfortably without making a lot of noise.
Correct.
So, but of course, if it was, not human, then maybe it doesn't matter. But I think I maybe peeked in there and I kind of turned on the light and I'm like, yeah, it's a mess. Perfect. Cool. And I shut the light and shut the light off. And yeah. And I remember I had my hand on the door of the garage door, and I'm like, if there's something out there, I'm like, this is going to change the entire night and probably my entire life. And I remember I threw the door open and I just flicked on the light and I walked out kind of like the idea of like aggressively being like, no, I'm not afraid of you.
Right.
You know,
not just peeking around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I'm not going to outlast it and fucking do this shit. So, but no, nothing was there. Nothing was like, because we checked the laundry room. Yep. I checked behind
even the bathroom. Yeah.
Just everything. Like, but I mean, the good thing is that doesn't happen often, or like these are like isolated incidents or whatever. Like I've never been in my home by myself or with you and have ever felt unsafe. You know, so
okay.
I will say that there was something we were talking about before the podcast was that the Mr. Bean cutout that we use on the show or that we have used or whatever, like it might come back eventually, but it's literally right underneath of the couch as we speak. That's where all of our cardboard cutouts are kept. And at that time, it was actually in this room. It was standing over here. I knew I was going to be by myself. And what I did was that I made sure that I spun it in a way to where like only the side profile of it was seen, because I don't need him eye fucking me while I'm walking down, the hallway, because that has happened to me before and it scared the shit out of me. But again, could have been nothing, could have been something, but I remember I came up from downstairs and I saw a shadow. Like it was like right where this where the cardboard cutout was, and
they're sneaky, man.
It was the weirdest thing. Now again, that did not put me on edge for the rest of the night. I was still fine. It was like, again, like, but it was just that moment of like, I think I kind of justified it to myself when I looked at it. I'm like, I looked at it quick. There is something that is there,
right?
So it's
a trail or something happened.
So it's tough because it's like I don't really see things, so it's like I don't know how to even conceptualize the idea of what it would be like to see something that's not of this world, and it's very much like I like being at a disadvantage with that, but yeah, it's interesting.
I love the fact that when people say things like that, and I do understand the a questioning behind it, but follow me here, guys, is that when somebody will be like, well, how much did you smoke or how much did you drink? Mm-hmm. And it's usually always the same answer, like, I really wasn't or nothing or whatever. And it's like, I honestly don't, unless you're tripping balls, I'm trying to be serious here, like tripping balls on like acid or shrooms or something like that.
Which we do not have in this house.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I don't care how much fucking beer you drink or how many shots you take or how many bong rips you take on top of all of that, you don't see figures or have things physically move on you. Mm-hmm. I don't care if I was shit-faced hammered.
Yeah.
Explain where this came from. Explain how that happened.
Right.
You were watching me on live. I wasn't just a drunken idiot and couldn't accidentally touched it or something.
No. And I think
that's why I don't understand when people ask that, in a sense where it's like, I get why you're asking, but at the same time, things like that don't happen. I get that maybe your eyes could like play some tricks on you. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for very specific things and outlines or shadows or physical marks on something is way different, man.
Yeah.
Like that's where my mind's going with it.
Well, because I mean, it's even there was an episode of Supernatural that I thought was very clever. It was about some kind of monster or entity that was inside of a psych ward that they eventually, went in and they took care of and did everything. But the beginning of the episode was really interesting, was that this woman is sitting in the doctor's office talking to her shrink. And, and he's like, for sake of argument, he's like, well, Lisa, like, honey, like you're a schizophrenic. Like, it's like you see things all the time. Like, this is a part of the, this is a part of your psyche break. Like, we've talked about this. You're working through it. You're on medication. Like, it's like you're able to discern what is real and what isn't. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen them do. And she said, no, doc, like, my dead son is standing behind you right now and staring at me. I know he's fake. She's like, I see him every day when I wake up and when I go to bed. She's like, this is not what I saw. She's like, it was on the ceiling and it was looking at me. She's like, there is something happening. And like, again, like it's that interesting like way that they spun it, where it was kind of like, no, I know I'm crazy.
Right.
This is not like that. This is not what's happening.
Yeah, right.
Something physically is changing in the room. And it's like, again, like that's how I've tried to view everything, is that like, no matter what has happened in this house, is that I've never like looked at it and been like, oh, this is, the consistent thing or the non-consistent thing. It's more so kind of like, what am I seeing? I need to make a, a decision right now on how I'm going to move forward on like how, if I even want to talk about this, like, cause was it something that was out of the normal that now is here? Or is it something that's always been here that I just now noticed? It's a very interesting kind of, tug of war with it. But yeah.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing too, is that, other than those recent things, I'm like, well, what has there been other things happening that I just either played off or didn't pay attention to or whatever, or thought that maybe it was Thor in there doing something when he was actually sleeping, or maybe one of the cats when they were downstairs, but they were actually, it's like, I don't know, because I am here kind of a lot by myself in a sense of like with you being at work, or if if I'm here on a weekend and you've got plans or something like that. But we do have lives, right? But no, it's just I've never looked at it that way of like when I was here by myself or if I was with somebody. So it's never put in my mind like, oh, I'm here by myself, I'm hearing noises. No. I was like, Thor, knock it off, dude. Or like whatever. I'd be like, hey, you two downstairs, knock it off. Like, because the cats are wrestling or something. Right. But in the sense of that cackle, who knows? Maybe there's been times they've been down there wrestling and it wasn't them. Like those noises or something where I'm just like, I just throw it off. But I don't know, man. Like I'm not that I'm trying to be hyper aware, because then you'll start picking out things. Right. I'm trying to think, has there been things happening prior to this? Because like I told whatever it was, again, not trying to be mean to it or anything, but I was, again, on live. I'm like, look, man, stop touching my shit. Yeah. I'm not being rude. You're touching my stuff now, and this is an expensive fucking room. Don't do it. Right. Stay the fuck out there or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man, something like that. It's like, dude, it's trying to get my attention. And then my hat, we didn't talk about that.
Oh God, your hat. Yeah.
So guys, there's some episodes up lately where I have on my Blackpink hat because I could not find my Golden Girls hat, my daily hat on the show. Well, at least that we record. Now, again, weird things can happen. Animals do play, but let me just set the scene for you. Funny that I said that because picture it.
Yeah, right. Sicily, 1923. Yeah, right.
So Chandler found it this afternoon underneath the couch. Fine. You can say all you want. Oh, it was underneath the couch. You got kicked under there. First of all, probably not, because of like how the couch works. And like, it was like in there underneath, like not sticking out. If I'm sitting here, like say where my normal seat is, my other normal seat is almost kind of catty-cornered across the room. Where my hat was almost two cushions to my right and another catty-corner. Like it was a distance is what I'm getting at. Not in the same vicinity, underneath the couch. Yeah. Like it was pushed. Kyle goes, well, if Thor was playing with his Fiji toy, he could have bounced. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I'm like, well, no, man. I'm like, trying to bounce the hat underneath that when you've only got a space about this big.
Yeah, it's not much. Yeah.
It definitely fits, but you almost like have to push it with a hand. Like you can't just like kick it underneath or like a cat bat at it. Right. So there was that too. Like it was missing for 3 days, 4 days. Now, I never looked underneath that side because why the fuck would I look underneath that side of the couch?
Yeah, no. And it's there because there would be no reason for you to like with the normal places that it would be. It would either be like on the desk in the office, or it would be on your bed or in here. Yeah, because it's, I don't know. It's interesting just because like, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I probably am going to be hyper aware. Like, so it's like, it's the idea of like, I might end up seeing something or whatever. Like, but I'm also like, I'm kind of in the mentality that of like, all right, well, no, if something is happening, I'm like, I have a phone with a camera. Like I'm turning the camera on, and I'm going to try to my best, like not to be like, oh, I caught it. Like, let's make it go viral. It's like, no, dude, like I want to make sure that like, I'm not fucking insane or that, or like, that something's going on. Like, cause it's just, I don't know, like it's very odd just because, like the second that you said that this stuff was happening or whatever, and I read the post, my first thought was, okay, well, what is in the house that wasn't here prior? because that was really like when a long time ago when I lived in an apartment with somebody. Somebody had refurbished a window that was very beautiful. It was done to like hang jewelry and different things. And actually, same friend that year got me a gift along with it was that it was a bottle opener that he made from a license plate. I still use it to this day. And so, you know, it's great. Dan he's amazing. He's amazing with wood.
You'll see him on a Shut Up and Eat It here soon.
Yeah,
he's amazing with wood.
Yeah, he's wonderful with wood. So I just remember like the whole situation went down. It is on the campfire. So I mean, if you guys do want to see it, it's called The Window. The long and short of it essentially was that the second that this thing showed up, just stuff started to get weird. And again, I didn't really know anything was happening until it was over. And then it was kind of like, oh no, this is now being talked about, because it was the person I was with at the time was like, no, like I would hear things like, you know, this, like I couldn't stand in the bathroom with the door open because the staircase was right there, you know, like, and it was kind of like you could see like the landing out of the corner of your eye because it's always in your periphery, like it's all that stuff. And essentially what we were told was that through multiple different sources was that when we described what was happening was that they were like, no, you had a Babadook. You literally had a boogeyman. And it was that moment of like, what the hell? Because I remember there was one night specifically that she was actually laying in bed. I was not in bed that night. I was downstairs. And I woke up to like 100 text messages of like, please come upstairs. I'm fucking terrified. Like something is in here or whatever. And it was over in the corner of the room where the window was. So all that long way around the barn to say it is that I've had an experience before where it's like, no, something foreign is now in the house.
Right.
And because I think it was even like her grandmother was like, no, like, you know, has anything been brought into the house? Like, even if it is dumb, like a new key or like, you know, a necklace or like or anything like that. Is there anything that was brought in? And I can honestly say, like, I mean, from looking at like what we have in the house now, like there really hasn't been that much of a change. And the only thing that I was thinking of was a stone that was from a building that was demolished or whatever, or that was being remodeled and stuff, whatever. Yeah. But again, if this stuff was happening like beginning of coffee time, that doesn't line up with when that showed up.
I know. Because you guys, he literally was like, well, what's here that wasn't, because he was thinking about it and he was, you know, trying to ask me, and he's like, well, what's here new that wasn't here before? And like, I'm thinking, and I was like, the Funko Pops? I was like, in my mind, I was like, bro, I'm not getting rid of them bitches. They're staying.
You just got to deal with it.
You got to deal with that motherfucker. Like, but no, he was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, what's new? And then I was like, oh, the lava rock.
Yeah.
You know, because you said something about because I was even going to be like, well, it's not the shelf. That was at Meg's house. Nothing like that has happened. Like, it's not like we brought that in from that. So that I was like, Funko Pops for the lava rock, because the only thing I could think of, I was like, son of a bitch, if Lloyd and Harry's fucking cursed. Yeah, right. I gotta take them horse back. Like, yeah, but no.
We need a seance over plastic. You know, yeah, right, yeah.
But no, it's just, it is weird. Like you said, it's not been since then. It's been before that. Other things have happened. We've talked about it before. Like, you know, the lights I've seen before, you know, as far as like when I have my eyes closed and in the room and stuff. But as far as like probably pixies, in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's very odd in the fact of, again, I do experience things. I am still the, quote, skeptic to go to the Conjuring home and all these things, because like, I think maybe it's almost like you said, I don't want that in my mind also to like see things to kind of like hype myself up. I'm also not trying to play it down either.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just the fact of clearly nothing. I don't want to say it doesn't scare me, but like it doesn't do anything for me. And my thought is they're not going to let you take tours if you're going to get hurt.
Right.
So that's where my mind also goes. But the fact of, yes, man, I do actually experience things. We've talked before about it's either the man with the bowler hat or the crooked man. I don't know which one it was I was seeing per se.
Right.
You know, that would get closer every couple of weeks, you know, and anything. And he actually ended up being inside of the fence at one point. But anyways, it's like, I do see things. It's just, my problem is, I think the more I've been thinking about it while we're talking is, and I'm not trying to be funny, you're touching my shit.
Right.
You're touching my shit. You're not supposed to be able to fucking touch things. Now that you can, you want to touch not only something that goes for my show, but another piece that goes for my show, parts of bro, don't touch my shit.
Yeah.
Like that, it's fucking simple. Mm-hmm. Like you can kick it here, like whatever.
Yeah, so we've had some things before where like it's like where like for instance when I first bought the house was that guys, I mean you can believe this or not, I know for a fact it's real with the things that I've experienced, which we can do a podcast on it eventually and talk about it if this person is ever comfortable with their name being out there and things. But we have a friend, actually a couple of friends that are very clairvoyant, and that like, and the idea of that when I've told them about certain situations, they've looked at me and they're like, that's not what happened. You need to tell me what really happened. Like who was in the room with you kind of a thing. And it's like that type of deal of like, well, shit, no, I guess you really do know like what's going on in my head, or like, you know, or like had like a vision of it or whatever. So again, take it or leave it, for better or for worse, whatever. But when we first got this house was that we sent pictures of it to this friend, not only to, you know, be like, hey, this is where we're going to move, but it was also, do you see anything? Because it wasn't just the idea of that when they're in a physical place that they can see things. It was, no, if there are pictures of a location, they can see them there too. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the weirdest situations that happened, because it was oddly comforting. Was that it was from what I remember was like an elegant, like old style, maybe like Victorian era looking beautiful woman, like maybe in her like 40s. Mm-hmm. She was standing in the living room and was kind of like looking at the camera, kind of like, you know, oh, hello there, kind of like, what are you going to do with this house kind of a thing. Because like, I think that it was the idea that maybe she understood like it was going up for sale kind of a deal. Sure. You know, and I never saw her. I never had any experiences. Again, the person I was with at the time would sit on the corner of the couch and stuff. So like that's like perfectly where your periphery is going to be, like down the hallway. So like, you know, she would see this thing go from room to room and like it would like, you know, just kind of like zip and do its thing. And after a while, I kind of forgot about it until a friend of mine came over and was having a really, really bad night. At the time, the basement was not a bedroom. It was a second living room. And
man cave.
Man cave. And he said that he sat down on the couch. I think he said that he had just gotten off the phone with somebody and had a really bad conversation. And he said that he set the phone down and was just, I think maybe he said he was praying. I can't remember exactly what he was doing. But he said he looked over and at the bottom of the steps, there she was. And she calmly walked over, sat down next to him, and, you know, maybe did something like put a hand on his shoulder or something, kind of like, it's going to be okay, you know. And it was such an odd experience where I'm like, wow. So like he didn't really even like, we didn't talk about this. He just saw a woman. And when we brought it up, he was like, oh no, he's like, I saw her. He's like, she's very comforting. And it was like, it was just very odd. Now, after a period of time, she left. The same person that saw her was like, no, she's not here anymore. I don't feel her presence, and I don't see anything. She's like, you do have a little boy that's here, and you know, so it was kind of like, okay, but even then, I'm pretty sure he left too. So
okay, you're about to just make me think like, okay, well, if it was a little boy, then I feel like an asshole saying that to him, because he was probably a little. If it is him, then he's probably trying to play with Chandler.
Could be, yeah.
She has been kind of going in there and wanting to hang out in the studio more and like play video games. And she was on the Twitch and stuff with me to hang out. You know, it's interesting. It's almost like he, in a sense, like hid my hat to be funny. And then now was like, oh, well, I want to put headphones. I don't know. I'm just thinking out of my ass here.
Well, it's honestly, I mean, I'm going to go dark with it. But when you said that you found the fingerprints and stuff on your headphones, it made me think of Insidious. Like, because it was when again, not saying this is what is happening, but like it was just kind of that moment of like, oh, fuck. Because especially with it being dark, like the fact that it was a residue that was left behind it was that moment when the mom is adjusting the sheets of her son's bed, and she pulls them off pulls it back, and there's just this pointy red like handprint that's just on the white sheets. And it's kind of that moment of like, what the fuck is this? What touched this?
Right.
You know, so and that's immediately what came to my mind. But I don't know. It's one of those that like I'm very protective of this home. Like it's one of those that, whether or not like somebody is having a good day or a bad day, like my house is a safe space. Like when you come here, you are allowed to talk about whatever you need to. Anything you talk about stays here. Like if you need to crash for the night, things like that. Like my house is a safe space. Like it's been for me for a long time. And that's what I try to give to other people too. So it's one of those that like I get protective in that aspect because it's one of those that it's like, no, number one, I don't want you to mess up, like my vibe and everything, but it's like, you can mess with my vibe. Right. You don't mess with anybody else that comes here. I'll deal with you when I'm on my own. Exactly. That kind of deal where it's like, nah, dude. It's like, that's where I draw a line. So it's like, doing, the right thing or whatever from like what BJ, our second mom, who's very in tune with stuff like that, where she's like, no, sage your house, like, smoke a cigarette in your house, like, claim ownership over stuff or whatever. Like I've kept crystals before. I do have, the few rocks and stuff or whatever that Meg has given us or whatever that are on the entertainment center. Even like with what BJ would say was like when I walked into her house, when I visited her a couple years ago, I remember standing outside smoking a cigarette with her. And she was like, no, she's like, if you look, she's like, I'm going to butcher it if I try to say what they all are. But she's like, no, I have on each of the steps. There are, these different crystals and stuff that are there that she's like, nothing can walk into my home that is not cleansed first. And so it's like that kind of, has made me, or this whole situation has kind of made me think about that, where it's like, no, like, I'm not like completely sold on the whole crystal thing. Sure. But still, it's one of those that like if there are some benign things that I can kind of just like keep around or whatever, like that's it's been on my mind. But definitely like saging the house and doing different stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just taking, the precautions that are necessary for not only, my sanity and yours, but anybody else that is going to be here, or that is going to visit or that is going to spend time here. Like that's because it's like, dude, like I don't need that shit and I don't want that shit. But it's still the idea that you can't deny if it's really here. I mean, again, everything that has happened could be bullshit. Could be. Very well could be bullshit. But we've had enough things happen that when strange shit does happen that you're like, okay, no, this is not normal.
It's the fact that it's so out of pocket, dude.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to sound like a hard ass and I'm not trying to be rude as long as it's not this little boy. Mm-hmm. You just made me think of some of the fact of I'm still pretty sure it was the paint, but what I'm saying is the fact of, you saying that whole like Insidious thing where he can like whatever it was like just touch it and that was just like there may be residue left over.
It was the lipstick face demon. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
So in the fact of, okay, here's my school of thought. Again, not trying to be a hard ass, but if you can physically touch my stuff, that means I can punch you in your bitch ass chin. I'm just saying you can clearly be physical.
Right.
I'll fight you, dude. Right. Not just because you're touching. Now it's the fact of you came to my house.
Right.
Just like when people want to throw fits on that, you clicked on my dumb face.
Yeah, right.
Like you go the fuck on then.
There's this wonderful thing called a back button that you can hit and go to something else.
Or just fucking morph your way out of my fucking wall. Like that's how I'm kind of looking at it now, where it's like I'm not trying to be tough or like I'll fight, I'll punch a dragon. Like no, but it's one of those like, dude, if you're gonna don't start no shit, ain't be no shit. Like, so that's kind of where I'm looking at it too, where it's like I'm not afraid, but I am afraid in the fact of it being that way and like malevolent and like, evil with my little girl being here.
Yeah.
It was while she was here. Mm-hmm. No, man, that don't fly.
No.
Like you said, you can mess with me all day. Mm-hmm. And that's where I also draw the line when you can talk about my show all day. When you start bringing in Mom, Kyle, Devin, like now I got a fucking problem. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where it was. It was like, dude, stay out of our rooms then when she's here. How about that? Like, you want to call a truce? Mm-hmm. You can kick it here. Don't touch my things and don't be here and don't do things when she's here or make yourself present. Because now it also makes me wonder, when she has had a couple, once in a while, bad dreams when she's been like, Dad, I'm scared. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, now I'm wondering, is it that?
Right. Is she being a kid and genuinely having a nightmare, or is something happening?
Something happening? But it's just in the fact of like, nah, man, I'm not going to put up with this. Like, I know that there's energies and spirits out there, but I do have I do have limits and lines, man. And again, touching my stuff or scaring my kids is not going to fly with me.
No.
And I don't know. I don't know how other than sage, but it's like, I don't know how to really deal with that and not try to be like a pot stirrer on, upsetting more spirits and things. But it's like, again, man, don't do this if you don't still want repercussions, man. Just because you're in a maybe spirit realm, okay, dude, we can still shadow box.
Right. Well, it's
I had to throw that in there.
Well, it's no. I think honestly, it's that was actually really good.
Just came.
It's like, you should be a comedian. No, like, I mean, because there's even been some nights that I've been on the back deck. Like, I mean, because I don't smoke cigarettes as consistently as I used to,
right.
Which, I mean, again, like we've talked about it before, like I enjoy being outside, especially like when it is Christmas Eve and having that wonder and like looking up at the sky, like, am I going to see Santa? Like that type of thing. Like, it's like I could be 70 and still have that mentality. But I don't even know how to really explain it, but kind of coming from like the Skinwalker story that I had happen with Sammy.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that night we heard something. We heard a woman in a field off the outskirts of our town scream, "Help me," like she was being murdered.
Right. That wasn't just you. It was both of you.
Yeah. We called the police. Like it wasn't, oh, there's a monster. It was, no, somebody is being hurt. And like, it's probably already too late, because like now it's like, this is like the final blows happening or whatever. And, that day has not really left me. It's actually something that still pops up on my Facebook memories. That because I think Sammy was the one that posted it on her Facebook, was that, well, we just had something fucking freaky happen. Cause like, again, we were not in the mentality of, oh, we're ghost hunting. It was, we were sitting in my Buick LeSabre at the time that I chain smoked in all the time. That was one of our things we did, was that we would drop all the windows down. And Stone Sour's House of Golden Bones Part 2 had just come out. So we were listening to the album. And we were like piecing things together and like, oh my God, what is this character doing? Like all that stuff. Like we were focused on music.
Right.
And then
you weren't telling ghost stories.
No.
You weren't. Yeah.
Now, again, that area of this town has been active before. Sammy has some very terrifying things that have happened at that house and then also other places. But just that night kind of set a bar for me where I was like, what exactly is happening here? Because like at the time I didn't even think Skinwalker until much later on, when I was like, listening to more Skinwalker stories, and like whether or not they're true or not, that's to be debated. But hearing the idea of that, it's like, no, the farther away that they sound is actually the closer that they are. Right. And different things. And I couldn't even tell you what I heard, but I'm pretty sure it was a night that I was here alone. I was on the back deck. I was listening to music. It was late. And I just remember there was a sound that I heard through my headphones, and I stopped. I kind of, took my headphone off and I was listening. I didn't hear anything, but dude, I'm getting like choked up and like fucking goosebumps thinking about it. Was that, I remember being out there and all I could think was go inside. I don't know why. There was like, I have stood out on that deck till like 4 a.m. before, chain smoking cigarettes, listening to music, talking to people, whatever. Like I'm very acquainted with that deck and my backyard. Like it's like I'm not afraid to go outside. But that night, dude, like something it fucking got to me where it was kind of like, nope, finish your cigarette. Don't let it know that it spooked you. Kind of thing. This is all like going on in my head. Sure. Because that's one of the things that I try to remember, is that it's like, no, like do not give the devil a foothold. The idea of where it's like, no, like I'm not going to let you know that you've unnerved me, kind of a deal. And I just remember I semi kind of quickly finished my cigarette. I put it out and went inside. I immediately shut all the blinds. And I don't know, like it was kind of that weird thing of like, I felt like I was a kid in the dark again. And it was such an odd thing, dude. It was really fucked up.
Is it only on okay, I'm going to ask you, is it only on that deck part and like right there? Because the reason I'm asking is, again, I'm not trying to sound like a hard ass, guys. I'm not really afraid of much, I guess, in the sense of where I'm like, oh, or like, I don't want to be here or do that. I would say little more or little less than half the time. like he was saying, guys, in the kitchen, so you can walk out of the kitchen onto the back deck that actually has steps that goes down anyways. And then there is the window to the left. If you ever like hang out with me on coffee time or stuff like that, sometimes you kind of catch a glimpse of it. And what I'm getting at is a lot of times those blinds are now open all day, all night.
And then through the night or whatever.
And then through the night.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be late, you know, and sometimes like if I'm listening to music or maybe I'm, you know, getting my popcorn or something for the night to like go in and watch a movie. Dude, there has been more than 10 times what I'm getting at to where I'm like, close those fucking blinds.
Dude, it happens to me too, dude. And I don't know why.
It is out of nowhere. Like I'll like have like maybe my back turned and be like, why is it? No, like I'll feel it. I'm like, and it is fucking pitch black.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like the idea that like I should be able to see the outline of Lisa's house. Why is it gone?
Why is it gone?
Yeah.
Why aren't the street lights? Why isn't No. Why isn't Burger King's sign and downtown's whole plaza that always like you can see it? And I have had many of those nights where it is like all the lights are off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I'm like, close that. That's fucking weird. Something's looking at me. Something's right fucking there.
Yeah. And it's
now I just blame the fact that I'm in my own head, but I'm like, just close the blinds. But I don't get like that. Man.
No. And I think that it's not, to be fair, is that like, I mean, in the times that I have been by myself and it's been late, I'm usually on a video call with Crystal. So it's the idea where it's like my mind is preoccupied. Like I don't have the ability to like, you know, be freaked out. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been plenty of times that like it has been late. I have stepped out on the back deck. I plug in the lights, you know, so it's like, you know, I'm out there or whatever. But there have been a couple times recently that like, because what I ended up doing recently was I got a new solar candle light to put out there on the table. It looks really cool. It's nice to have out there, whatever. And I remember looking out there. Nothing happened, but it was just the idea that I looked out there and I'm like, okay, I can see it. What's going to happen the night that something's obstructing it? And then I look up and I see it.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
How long ago did you buy that? I do remember. How long ago did you?
When I got the stuff for the front, the same. It was also the same night I got the candle lights for the path in the backyard.
Bro, we got a problem.
Why? What's up?
It's happened since then, and that light wasn't on. That's why I say it was pitch fucking black. That probably happened 2 weeks ago, at least once.
Interesting.
Bro, we got a fucking problem. Because now that just got to me. Like, bro, no, like I'm serious. Because that's why I was like, yeah, there's normal. I swear, like you can see light at least out of these. And then the fact of being, you know, down with Burger King and all this stuff, it's like,
I don't know. It just makes you
like,
think.
Because now you saying that, I remember being like, yeah, there's the new solar light. Because a couple of times, like, I'm going to bring that in. Even if it rains, like it doesn't, because I'm always like, oh, he's going to ruin his. No, it's not going to ruin it.
Yeah, it's all weather.
It's all weather.
Yeah.
So, and you just saying that made me think of the fact of, nah, dog, it was dark out there. Dark.
Yeah.
Like it's 3 R's, dark.
Well, because I mean, the thing is too, is that where we live in Ohio is that like, it is very much just like, it is all Indian burial ground. Like it's because I mean it's like especially out on the one area that's I don't want to give it away, but like there's another kind of like suburb that's like very much out in the country that I know for a fact that I have had friends and family that have been out there that have experienced some pretty intense things. So it's the idea of like no, like there's active shit that happens all around, you know. So it's that kind of thing where I'm like, all right, like it's weird to me because it's like even like with the whole like the dark outside kind of thing where it's like it's never consistent. It's like it like pops up in random moments.
That's what I'm saying.
And it is never on a night that I'm listening to scary shit. Ever.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what frustrates me the most because dude, like the night that I should have experienced something was when I listened to the story of, I think the, oh God, I hope I don't get his name wrong. Matt Emsch, I think his name is. He was the gentleman that when he was younger, he saw the werewolf in Youngstown.
Oh, yeah.
I literally turned that on and went to bed listening to it because I was just so like listening to his story was so terrifying that it was almost like watching a movie where I'm like,
sure.
I had to know what happened next, you know? But yeah, like it's the weirdest thing. Like I've not had a consistency of being scared. I felt like, you know, but it's like when those things happen, like, but again, once everything is shut, I'm good. You know, but it's the idea of like, no, like I won't go fucking outside whenever I feel that way. No way in hell.
I think that's the problem is that if it was every time, be like, oh man, close the blinds. Oh man, close the blinds. Like, I think that's the thing is that it's not. And that's what was kind of getting to me. And I don't let things get to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, it was almost like when you run up the steps.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where they say that that's actually a real thing, though, when you do that, because there is something truly there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But again, it's so sporadic that it's not like I am consistently thinking that or afraid of that. I don't give a shit half the time. But that other half, it's like you said, where it's almost like your brain just goes, shut those right fucking now.
There is a primal instinct that is still, it's like whenever you're in the woods and it's like, no, I'm being watched.
Yes.
And like you, like whether it is an animal or if it's a person or whatever, like, you know that.
But it's almost just one of those, like, I wonder if something like that is, I'm not saying Skinwalker, but like, let's say it is one. Well, it can't come in.
No.
So the only thing it can do is watch you.
See, that's actually what terrifies me more is the idea of that, like, God, there was not to be like, so like creeping out and everything, but, like the mentality of like, you know, if you were to, you know, walk into the kitchen or whatever, and then there's just something up against the glass, just looking inside or whatever, that's, again, whether it is a person or if it is a thing, like, it's like either way, I don't like that, you know, like, cause, it was a story I heard a long time ago. It was a true story. I think Corpse Husband talked about it. It was, that a gentleman was getting ready for bed and he saw an elderly woman in a nightgown staring in, and she started screaming and pounding on the door. And at first he was like, what the fuck is this? Turns out she was actually somebody that had like escaped from a nursing home and she had dementia and ended up at his house. So like, but he's like, dude, it freaked me the fuck out. It was kind of almost like the others, like, I am your daughter kind of a thing. Like, you know, and where it's like, I don't know what's scarier, children or old people. Like it's like they're both equally terrifying, you know? So, but
I think it's just the fact that like, an older person that has power like that. I'm not trying to be funny, but like the fact that they could just whoop your ass when you think that they're so frail, and then they'd be like, come here, like, I'm going to eat your soul. And you're like, God damn, Graham. Like,
it's like, geez, Gladys, calm it down. Yeah. But
Ethel, stop. Get off the ceiling. You're going to break a hip.
I don't know, man. It's just, I mean, a lot of really weird stuff has been happening, but again, like I know that I'm going to take the precautions with it. I mean, because even like, you know, like when Lola's talked to us before, where she was like, you know, she's like, no, like make sure you have this in your home, do this, and this. And this is what I do. Like that's the stuff that I want to try to at least prepare for and at least be done. Just because, again, it's like I'm very much in the mentality of that. Like, I want to make sure that my house stays the way that it is,
of course.
And, you know, just that, you know, that you're comfortable, I'm comfortable, all that stuff. But like, it is a very jarring thought to have of just like, okay, like, is something happening, you know? So like, if anything, it just makes me, when we get off here, it just makes me want to watch some funny videos and just like get my mindset in a different way. Like, you know, like I'm happy I'm not working on scary stories tonight, or
I'm going to probably go grill.
Yeah. Right. So it's just, it's interesting, but yeah, so guys, I think that we've pretty much run the course on this. That's pretty much everything that's been going on, unless if you have anything else that's been on your mind or anything. But guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've had any paranormal experiences in your home or anywhere else, we would love to hear about them. Let us know in the comments. We may even feature them on an episode if we do another spooky thing or different things like that. But nevertheless, as always, Eric, is there anything you want to say to the audience before we officially sign off until next week?
Ghosts, don't touch my shit.
Stop moving my damn keys. I gotta go to work. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Adios.